on the floor, guards on the floor. So if they can all start to break, what are you going to do defensively to stop that?
Yeah.
So I like to put pressure on the other teams offensively, and I like to put pressure on the teams defensively. It's a theory that I learned from John Perez about being proactive offensively and defensively, not reactive.
Okay. Now, what kind of half-court sets do you run? Since you're not going to have any 6'10" guys. Is it more 5 out, spread the floor, pitch and catch, or draw and kick, or ball screen? Or
yeah, we're as you saw this past year, a lot more screening going on, trying to get our guys that are shooters open.
Yeah.
A little more on-ball screens, but primarily a change of direction too. You gotta mix it up.
Yeah.
Because as I said before, we're transitioning to a different type of student athlete.
Yeah.
So we got to be able to, as we say, smoke and mirrors, with the basis of it all defensively.
Okay.
I still think defensively, you don't have to be the quickest. You just got to buy into the mentality of toughness.
Now, are you pressing for 32 minutes? Or are you cutting it down? Or are you doing it in spurts?
We're doing it in spurts now.
Okay.
In spurts now because we don't have the depth that we had before. Numbers. You need numbers in order to press for that long. You pick and choose your spots.
And that is a misconception a lot of people have, far as at the high school level. You see a lot of teams they just press for no reason, and they only play 7 or 8 kids, and you just can't do it. That was something that I learned at Kennedy. We just couldn't press. We had to do it in spurts. We don't have 10 or 11 guys to go do 32 minutes of pressing. So, once you figure that out, it definitely helps you.
Absolutely, yeah. You gotta know your team.
Yeah.
And I think that's another part of as a coach that I'm learning and still learning, is that what's going to be best for your team. You can't just say, okay, we're going to run and we're going to press, and we're going to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
You might not have the team.
Okay.
So you have to learn to put them in a situation to succeed, and that might just be what we're doing now.
Okay.
We got to run some more half-court sets. We got to be precise. We got to call stuff out. Got to be a little more hands-on. And it's tough. It's been tough for me because I've been used to doing it a certain way for so many years. But you have to learn to recreate yourself as a coach.
Now, have you reached out to any coaches since you are kind of recreating not so much recreating your program, but kind of changing your style? Have you reached out to any coaches to kind of get a feel and kind of get some advice for that?
Well, I always reach out to John Perez.
Okay.
And we talk, and he's the one that's always been in the background, kind of watching games, and he's always been, as we say, brutally honest with me. And I always reach out to him. I've reached out to Coach Mellis, talked to him a little bit about, and he's always been very supportive. This past year was hard.
Yeah.
Supportive in regards to any team that lost 3 guys like you did would be going through a transitional period.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I think I spend more of my time reading, looking at videos, talking to my own staff,
Okay.
and just seeing what we can do in order to make our kids successful.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit. This is a very hot topic, I guess, especially in the East Bay. I've never seen it like this on the East Coast. They don't care if it's public or private, nor does the Midwest. What is your feelings? Public's playing in the same league as privates, or should privates just have their own league?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, I've been in an all private league, and I've been in obviously a league that's mixed with public and private. You get into the perception that privates have a bigger pool, or we can recruit. All I can speak for is for St. Mary's, and I can speak from the people that I work with administratively in that. I've been specifically told, you're not to go out there and talk to kids.
Yeah.
So I think the people that say that all private schools do that, that's not the case.
Yeah.
I think private schools can provide, outside of sports, different academically, safety-wise and all that. I know there are certain things that we can provide that in some cases some public schools can't provide.
Yeah.
But I like the mixture, to be honest with you. I really like the mixture because as and I'm looking at it from just my own view, I see that this league that we're going into, El Cerrito, is a top program.
Yeah. Deanza's coming up.
Deanza's coming up. So I see that where they're saying, I see a lot of public schools that are coming up because what's coming down at the other end. Not everybody can afford a private school because of the economy. It's financial aid at private schools is not what it used to be anymore either.
So the league he's talking about is a 16-team league that will feature St. Mary's, Salesians, El Cerrito, Deanza, Kennedy, Richmond High, St. Pat's, St. Joseph's, Albany. I think I'm missing a couple other ones, but they'll be broken up geographically. So that's the 16-team league, which I think is going to be tough. I mean, I understand why they did it for 2 automatic qualifiers, but I think once they get into that league, there are going to be some people who want to get out of that league for that same reason.
I mean, the division that we're in, you're talking us, Salesian, St. Pat's, El Cerrito, Pinole Valley, and St. Joe's. We know who was in NorCal's last year. We know who won a state championship. So you're talking 10 games where as I said before, you better be ready. Yeah, you better be ready. So, I'm looking forward to it. When as you're looking competition-wise, this is going to bring the best out of our players. It's going to bring the best out of our staff, and it's also going to be honest with you, it's going to really publicize those 6 teams.
Now, are you gonna make your preseason a little bit easier, or is it gonna stay just as tough, knowing that you're going in there in the league? You're gonna have 10 games that are gonna take everything out of you.
Well, I don't think these days there's a easy preseason. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna play tough games. Yeah. The Reardon tournament has some very good teams. San Ramon Valley, Reardon. Team Drake. Yep. So we're playing teams that are going to be very successful in their leagues. We have some Division 4 teams like Menlo and Sacred Heart Prep. Yep. Sacred Heart Prep was where they were last year. Yeah. I just think that you can't just play an easy preseason because that's not going to get you ready for this league. You're hoping that you can win. You can get some games where you are able to play a lot of guys, but as I said, that's always dependent on us. Yeah. You make games easy if you prepare your team and your kids are prepared to play.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I walked into a gym and I see you officiating a game. Explain that. I mean, I kind of understand why you're doing it, but I don't think a lot of coaches do it, and maybe it's something that a lot of coaches will start doing after they see this. But explain kind of your reason for that.
Well, I'm very curious about learning, learning different things, and so I've always been curious to learn what does an official see, and what's just from their perspective, angles, making that call, learning sideline demeanor from coaches, dealing with the coach that's in your ear all the time. So that's when a couple of years ago I just started doing grammar school games in the city. Okay. And so the more I got into it, I'm like, I really enjoy this, and it's fun. It's a great camaraderie. Plus, you see the camaraderie the referees have. Yeah. And also, on the other end, I get to see other programs and kind of do a little more scouting. I get to see what's coming up at the other levels. But I enjoy it.
Have you learned? What's been the biggest thing you've learned from that?
Angles. The big little rectangle, where who makes the calls, who's in charge of, if you're the trail official, if you're the lead official. So now when I'm on the sideline, when I open my mouth and say something I shouldn't, now I won't because I understand it from the other end.
Now, is the hardest call for you to make the block charge call?
Yeah, that's the hardest call to make. That's the hardest call. Okay, I think that's a call that as a coach you will never convince me that that's the right call.
And what makes that difficult?
It's just, when you see your offensive player going to the basket and you see somebody sliding in and you see something, you'll watch it on film and you'll see the body turn sideways and they'll call it a charge, or he's standing underneath the basket. I think what I've seen is it seems like NBA to college to high school, it's different. It's a different call, and it's a call that should be uniform across the board. Okay. I'd like to see the semicircle be brought into the high school. Okay. Because I don't think a kid should get a charge if he's standing underneath the basket. Okay. And so that way, I think it'll calm some of the frustration that as coaches we feel.
Okay.
I think a defender should be rewarded if he gets in front and his chest is squared, but not if he's late on it.
Okay.
So, that's a call that will be debated forever, I believe.
Now, when you're out there reffing games, how much do you hear of a coach? To compare to now that I'm officiating, how much can I actually hear that coach talking?
You know what? I'm good at tuning people out. Sometimes when you're standing during the free throw and you're standing by because now the referee stands, a coach will come in your ear and they'll say, certain things and that, and I think and I've learned to just talk to the coach, kind of like how refs do to me. They talk to me. They don't embarrass me or anything. They just talk to you. So it's an ongoing conversation. It's I know what he's trying to do because obviously I'm a coach. And I know now as an official what we're trying to do is we're trying to ref the best game possible. You're not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so when a ref makes a mistake, like I have refereeing, now I see that it does look bad, and an apology kind of calms everything down. Just to tell a coach, hey coach, I missed that, it really goes a long way. Now I know when they say it to me, it's like, okay, gotta just let it go.
Now, when you're officiating that game, how is the screening? Because nowadays when you watch kids, they're setting a lot of screens, they're not set, and a lot of times it's the offensive player's fault. He's leaving before the screen gets there. But when you're officiating, how do those screens look, and have you learned how to kind of teach your guys this is the way you want to set a screen from an official standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, during this time that I've been reffing, I've had the luxury to ref with some senior guys that have been doing it for a while, so I've kind of picked their brain about screens, about the charge, about hand checking and all that. But when it comes to the screen, I've learned what you just mentioned, and they say a lot of times it's the guy with the ball that initiates that foul. It's not the guy who's setting the screen. They go too soon. And there's a concept that we teach at practice that we talk to our kids about. See the game at a slow pace. And if you watch the great players, and an example, at Salesian, Jabari is a perfect example. As I watch him on film, he sees the game at a slow level.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going so fast. He's at a slow, calm pace.
Yeah.
And so you rarely see him set a moving screen. You rarely see, because he sees the game at a different speed. And that's what separates the good players from the great players. And that's what we try to work with our kids about when it comes to screening. And we break down the drills where the guy with the ball cannot dribble until the guy is stationary.
Okay.
And that's seeing the game at a slow pace. You don't have to rush to the on-ball screen.
Yeah.
You don't have to rush to that baseline screen. Just let the guy set the screen and then play off the defender.
Okay.
And so we do situational practice, which is what do you do when the guy plays over the top? What do you do if the guy goes underneath? What do you do if the guy doubles it? And so you have to teach kids these days scenarios.
Okay.
You have to. You almost. I mean, we've gotten to the point where we have to script it out now because we're not as talented as before. We have to script it.
And when you say scripted out, are you scripting out one play or up to 5 plays? Because when I was at Salesian and Bill Tressler was the coach, the first 4 plays were scripted out for us. I mean, we knew we were going to run horns in the high post, into low. That's how we scripted it out. Are you guys kind of doing it that way?
Yeah, we're scripting like the first play right now.
Okay.
Just the first play. No matter what, we want you to run this.
Okay.
And it works. It really works. It's a tough philosophy these days because kids want to just play.
Yeah.
So when the final product is a bucket, then you can get the kids to buy into it. But I don't think you can do more than 4 plays. I mean, I don't think you can do more. The first quarter of that is too much. Basketball, it's a game with too much transition to be able to script it that way.
Now, how much film do you watch during the year, and how much do you watch in the off season?
I watch a lot of film. And this goes back to, again, you asked me where I learned a lot of my stuff from Coach Perez. I mean, I watch film every night.
So what are you saying, about an hour, 2 hours a night?
About 2 hours a night.
Okay.
2 hours a night. During the season, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And during the off season, probably about 45 minutes. But there's a difference between the two. During the season, I'm watching opponents.
Yeah.
I'm breaking down opponents. During the off season, I'm watching our players, our returners.
Yeah.
And I'm watching their tendencies and I'm watching their strengths and their weaknesses. So that way when we have our pre-summer meeting, this is what I've seen during your season. This is what you need to do as you get a year older.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't, you know, you're not a great shooter off the dribble, you're gonna have to work on this. Defensively, you know, you get beat this way a lot, so we're gonna have to. So you have, as we say, you have a starting point for those kids, and then by the end of the summer, after you watch summer league games, have they gotten better or have they regressed?
Yeah.
And they need to see it. I think kids need to see themselves on film for no more than 5 minutes.
All right. Last question. How do you feel about the open division?
Well, hopefully Salesian will get moved up. But I think it's part of where basketball is going. People want to see the best teams play against each other. I think it's a good thing. As athletic director, I'm not sure that being told you have to and you have no option, I don't think that's fair. I think the school should decide, the coach should decide what's best for that team. Not just say, okay, you've been, you know, because you never know what could happen.
Okay.
Injuries and that. So I think the coach and the team and the administration should be given that decision. It's an honor to get chosen, but we're going to go or we're not going to go. That should be left up to the school.
Okay. Well, there you have it. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. We also want to thank Coach Nodar here for giving us the opportunity to talk to him. Hopefully you guys learned something about offense. Hopefully you learned something about defense, and hopefully you learned something about where Manny came from. I'm not sure too many people knew that he came over here at the age of 10. So check us out, tune in, and once again, thank you guys for coming.